Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons. Now normally I talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5e, but it doesn't necessarily have to be about Dungeons & Dragons 5e. The topic for today is combat encounters, objectives for Dungeons & Dragons. Now as I said, doesn't have to be Dungeons & Dragons 5e, but we're talking about combat encounter objectives, things you can do that sort of add to your combat, make them a little bit more interesting and give you more of a focus rather than just trying to reduce hit points, which tends to be the case with a lot of Dungeons & Dragons combat. So as I said, combat doesn't have to just be about killing the enemy in battle, although that's fun and certainly I would not exclude all those options, but you don't have to just do that. So here are a few objectives you can include in your battles. I have about 15 different objectives. Some are very similar, but I've tried to make sure almost all of them are different in some way, so you've got plenty to work with, lots of options to sort of play with as you're running through your game. So number one is you can make peace with the leader or members of a rival group. Now this is the hardest objective to achieve. Making peace or having some sort of treaty take place is very, very difficult. Now if it's taking place in the middle of a combat, it's very difficult. If it's taking place at the end of a combat, it's even more difficult. It's better if you're trying to make peace before the combat breaks out. Otherwise, it's just a bit hard. I think you'll find most dungeon masters, what will happen is they will make it more difficult to achieve that by setting a DC or difficulty class much higher than you can probably roll on your dice successfully, or there'll be motives that just can't be fulfilled because you've sort of made a mess of it. This really relies on players, if they do get into a battle, not killing the rivals, knocking them out rather than putting an arrow through their heart or blasting them with ranged magic so that there's nothing but ash left. So yeah, try not to kill them if you're going to try to make peace with them. Okay, number two is you can act as a bodyguard for an important individual or individuals. It could be more than one person. A good example is Lord of the Rings, Boromir protecting the hobbits as they are being assaulted by Uruk-hai. So a really simple objective and actually quite difficult to be successful with if your enemy has ranged attacks, because they can just pepper them with arrows or ranged spells if they want to and finish them off. So you've really got to make sure you're creating a shield between them or putting them in cover. Otherwise, as a bodyguard, you're not going to be doing a very good job. They're going to wind up with a whole bunch of bodies that you were supposed to be keeping alive. Okay, number three is you can protect an ancient, fragile, or very powerful talisman as it is being transported to a specific location. And the best example, probably all of you know about this, is Lord of the Rings, Frodo having to take the Ring of Power to Mordor, Mount Doom, drop it in there and destroy the thing. So this is yet again a very cliche trope that's used in Dungeons and Dragons, and of course it's been used in fiction quite a lot as well. Okay, number four is you can retrieve an important object or artifact from a dungeon environment. That might mean that you're going to go into the lair of a dragon and you have to find a special magical artifact that has healing properties and then take it back to, say, a king or a queen or a noble person or somebody who needs it because this is the only thing that will heal them. So retrieving an important object is a fairly good objective, and you can place all of these in the middle of combat. They do not need to be outside of combat. You can make them part of the combat themselves. Number five, what about sneaking into a fortified area without raising the general alarm? Now, of course, you might raise the alarm with a couple of individuals, but if you're quick and fast and do your job properly, you can put them out of their misery and pacify them and then move on through the fortified location. Of course, my example here is trying to sneak past an army of Modrons into Mechanis. Why not? That can't be very hard to do. Okay, number six is you can stop a magical ritual being performed, and that this ritual has dire consequences. So my example here is we've got the Red Wizards of Thay, and they are performing some sort of magical ritual, torturing this poor individual, and by doing so their soul will be sucked out and something else will happen to them that probably won't be very nice, and usually to do with undead stuff. So that's the concept, is stopping a ritual being performed. Very often used in Dungeons and Dragons. There's always like a ritual that needs to be performed, right? Number 7 is you can open a locked or sealed door. Now, by opening this locked or sealed door, you will allow access to a different location, which either allows for you to escape or move on, or close the doors behind you so you can put yourself in a safer position as you're being attacked by hordes of savages or something like that. Or maybe it will lead into a treasure trove with the right elements available to you to be successful in your battle. Not everything needs to be about killing the enemies, as I said. Okay, number 8. You're going to activate a machine or some sort of device or perform a ritual. Rather than stopping a ritual, you might be performing that ritual. And by doing so, you're going to stop the forces of darkness, those dark, evil spirits entering your body and chewing your soul up and then spitting it out and using it as some sort of, excrement for their fun. Number 9, you can pull a lever that allows escape or completes a purpose. One of the most frustrating things for players to have to deal with in the middle of combat is traps. So if there's a lever on the other side of the room that requires them to travel down a passageway past a whole lot of enemies, or if there's a big pit they have to cross, or maybe there's a special mechanism that they need to open up in the side of the wall and then fiddle around with some tools to try to activate the lever. I mean, the lever doesn't need to be a big lever that you grab with your hand. It could be a lever that is activated and triggered by using small implements such as your thieves' tools. And of course, the combat's taking place with, say, some dungeon monsters, and there's traps being activated. You know, you're being scorched with fire and there's darts flying everywhere, making it a little bit more interesting. Number 10, you could close a dimensional portal. There's often let's close the dimensional portal because there's an estranged, power-hungry god who wants to escape and subdue everybody in the world and all the worlds and make everybody's life miserable. So that's another option you can put and include in your battle. Let's open a portal. We closed a portal. Let's open a magical portal. Why would we open this magical portal? It leads to the next area, which allows us to travel to an exotic or fantastical world. Or we're opening this portal because we need to make sure that the villagers who are being attacked by crazed orcs can't kill everybody. So let's get them through the portal to safety and then close the portal behind us. So another objective you can include in your battles. Number 11, let's capture the enemy leader, an important figure within the organization that you're currently battling. By doing so, by capturing them, then of course you don't have to worry about fighting everybody else, and if you do that, then you can then take them to the authorities, bring them to justice, or just have them tried in public and executed because, gosh, everybody likes a hanging, don't they? Number 12 is you could kill the enemy leader. You're fighting in a big battle and killing the enemy leader, that's the objective. Why do we want to do this? It's the old, if you cut off the head of the snake, then the body will wither and die. So in other words, if you kill the enemy leader, then the army goes into disarray and anarchy and is disbanded or runs away, and you don't have to worry about fighting thousands and thousands of troops. Number 13. You could secure an important military location or secure a sacred place. So an example is you might be battling for a significant military location such as a hill or a fort that is currently being taken or has been taken over by orcs or goblins or bugbears or whatever it is you want. Doesn't really matter. Maybe it's got giants in it. So you secure that location, and that gives you a significant advantage in combat in the following battles that you will have taking place. It might be part of just one battle amongst the entire war that's taking place. You can also think about, what about sacred locations, such as a church, a chapel, a cathedral? Yep, the goblins, they've gotten a bit rowdy, they've come into town, they've all got torches, and they thought, well, let's just burn down the church. So now your job is to make sure the church doesn't burn down and fight off the goblins. So it's not just about kill the goblins, it's about put out fires, take out goblins, and try to find some way for it to rain. If anybody can produce rain, that's probably a good thing. Fire can't burn if there's rain, right? Okay, number 14, you could protect a fortified location such as a fort, a castle, from an army laying siege. Now the great thing about protecting a fortified castle is there's so many different things that players can do. So you're standing on the walls as the orcs are putting their ladders up against it and trying to clamber up there. Now you can knock the ladders off, you can knock off orcs off the ladders, you can drop stones or rocks on them as they're climbing up the walls, or if they're down on the ground. You can release the oil into the moat and then fire a flaming arrow into that moat, setting it on fire and burning your enemy. Or if they have a battering ram and they're trying to take down the front door, it's time to get out the scalding oil and pour it all over the top of them, set it alight, and watch them burn to a crisp. So there's so many different things. Look, if they break a section of the wall away, you can then start using spells such as Wall of Force, Wall of Fire. You could create a stone wall of some kind to secure that location that's been broken into. Maybe if you have boulders being thrown into the castle from a catapult, you can put up a force wall to block them from actually doing any damage. Lots of different things you can do rather than just cast spells, shoot arrows, and swing your sword or weapon and try to hack your way through a bunch of orcs as they're raiding your castle. My last option here is for those of you who have to deal with dungeon masters who have decided to get really, really tough with you. And that is, your objective is now escape from an impossible, dangerous foe. That's right, the goblins are no longer a part and parcel of the situation. No, the dungeon master picked an enormous giant, which is far more powerful than you. There's no way you could possibly succeed in this battle. So now it's down to, let's hide and then run away so we can fight another day. And that is an objective rather than trying to whittle away at the hit points of something you really can't do very much to, simply because you are outclassed. I hope this was really useful to you. I think I have covered pretty much all the different types of objectives you could have in your combats. There might be more. If there are, put them down in the comments by all means. Share it with somebody else. I have hundreds of videos for players and dungeon masters if you are interested in that sort of content regarding Dungeons & Dragons, Dungeons & Dragons 5e. You'll find I cover pretty much every topic if you are interested in those sorts of videos. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing content like this, well, guess what? I have a Patreon page. You get access to the notes that I create for my videos and the live stream, so you don't have to worry about having your subscribe button on, your bell button on, and notifications turned on. I also have a merchandise shelf where you can buy merch if you want to underneath all of my videos. Otherwise, just watch my videos. That's fine. That helps support the channel as well. Make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.